I never thought I'd be posting here. I usually just lurk and judge the drama from a distance, but right now, I'm shaking so hard I can barely type. My hands are literally vibrating against the keys of my laptop. My wife, Sarah, F30, is currently asleep in the other room after crying for 6 hours straight, and I am sitting here in the dark, staring at a manila folder that has the power to absolutely incinerate her entire family. To understand how we got here, you need to know about my late father-in-law, Robert. Robert was a saint. He was a quiet, hard-working man who built a successful construction firm from the ground up, but he lived in a house of wolves. My mother-in-law, Brenda, and my sister-in-law, Tiffany, F26, are the textbook definition of narcissistic scavengers. For as long as I've known Sarah, she's been the family scapegoat. While Tiffany, the golden child, was bought a brand new BMW for her 16th birthday, Sarah worked 2 jobs to pay for her own used Honda. When Tiffany dropped out of college for the 3rd time to find herself on a spiritual retreat in Bali, which Robert paid for, Sarah was finishing her master's while grieving the fact that her mother didn't even show up to her graduation because Tiffany had a fashion emergency that day. Robert saw it all. He wasn't blind. He used to pull me aside at family BBQs, grip my shoulder and say, "Take care of her, OP. She's the only one in this house with a soul." I didn't realize then how much he truly meant those words. Robert passed away suddenly from a massive heart attack 4 weeks ago. The grief has been suffocating. Sarah is devastated. He was her only ally. But for Brenda and Tiffany, it was like a starter pistol went off. Robert wasn't even cold before they started talking about redecorating and how Tiffany's upcoming dream wedding was going to be the tribute he would have wanted. Tiffany has been engaged to her fiancé, Brad, a guy who is basically a human polo shirt with no personality, for 6 months. They hadn't set a date because they had no money. But 3 days after the funeral, Brenda called a family meeting. "Sarah, honey," Brenda said, her voice dripping with that fake saccharine sweetness she uses when she's about to demand something insane. "You know your father didn't leave a formal will in the house. Everything just defaults to me as the surviving spouse. And since your father's business accounts are complicated, I've decided that you and OP need to cover the costs for Tiffany's wedding at the plaza. It's what Robert would have wanted, to see his baby girl happy." I nearly choked on my coffee. Sarah just sat there looking small. "Mom," she said, her voice trembling, "Dad's business was worth millions. Why do we need to pay for a $60,000 wedding? I'm still paying off my student loans." Brenda's face turned into a mask of pure vitriol instantly. "Because you're selfish. You've always been the greedy one, Sarah. You have a stable job, a husband who earns well, and Tiffany has nothing. This is about family. If you don't do this, don't bother coming to the wedding. In fact, don't bother calling me Mom ever again." Sarah left in tears. For the last week, Brenda and Tiffany have been flying monkey attacking us. Non-stop texts. "You're killing your mother's spirit. Dad would be so ashamed of you. Tiffany is crying herself to sleep because her big sister is a miser." But here is where the story turns. 2 months before Robert died, he gave me an old, beat-up wooden tool chest. He told me it was a fixer-upper project for us to do together. We never got to it. Today, while Sarah was out, I finally decided to clean it out as a way to process my grief. I was pulling out the rusted drawers when I noticed the bottom was uneven. I pried up a false floor. Inside was a sealed envelope addressed to Sarah and me, a set of keys to a safe deposit box at a bank Brenda doesn't use, and a handwritten note. The note said, "OP, if you're reading this, Brenda has already started the performance. She thinks she found the only copy of my will in the home safe and burned it. She doesn't know I saw her find it. She doesn't know I made a new one. Don't let them take a dime from my girl. Go to the bank." I went. I just got back an hour ago. Read it. It's not just a will. It's a goddamn massacre. He left Brenda the house, which is heavily mortgaged, a fact he hid from her, and a small monthly stipend that is contingent on her passing a drug test. She has a prescription pill habit he was tired of funding. He left Tiffany nothing. Literally $0. Everything else, the business, the vacation property in Maine, the investment accounts totaling nearly $4.2 million, was left in a rock-solid trust for Sarah. But that's not the incineration part. Inside the file, Robert left a series of private investigator reports. It turns out Tiffany isn't Robert's biological daughter. Brenda had an affair 27 years ago, and Robert found out a decade ago but stayed for Sarah's sake. He has DNA proof. And the PI reports also show that Brenda has been funneling money from Robert's business for years to pay off her own secret gambling debts. Sarah is still sleeping. She thinks she's a bad daughter for not wanting to pay for her sister's wedding. She thinks she's broke and alone. I am sitting here looking at Brenda's 14th missed call of the day. She just texted, "If the deposit isn't paid by Monday, you are dead to this family." Oh, Brenda, you have no idea what's coming on Monday. Time passed since last post, 48 hours. I haven't slept, not a wink. My eyes feel like they've been rubbed with sandpaper, and my head is pounding, but the adrenaline is the only thing keeping me upright. Friday night, after I posted that first part, I just sat by the bed and watched Sarah sleep. I felt like I was holding a live grenade, and pulling the pin was the only way to save her, even if the blast would change her world forever. When she finally woke up around 3 a.m., she looked so small. Her eyes were puffy, and the first thing she said was, "Oh, P, I think I just have to pay for it. I can't lose my mom. She's all I have left of Dad." That was it. That was the moment I couldn't hold it back anymore. "Sarah," I said, sitting on the edge of the bed and grabbing her hands. They were ice cold. "Your mom isn't who you think she is. And your dad was 10 steps ahead of everyone." I led her into the living room. The manila folder was sitting on the coffee table like a tombstone. I watched her face as she read the handwritten note from Robert first. She started shaking. Then she got to the PI reports. When she saw the DNA results for Tiffany, she actually stopped breathing for a second. "He knew?" she whispered. "He knew all those years that she wasn't his, and he still paid for everything? He still let Mom treat me like trash while he gave her the world?" "He did it for you, Sarah," I told her. "He knew if he blew up the family while you were still young, Brenda would have taken half of everything in a divorce and you would have suffered. He was playing the long game. He was protecting the inheritance until he was gone, so she couldn't touch a cent of it." We spent the rest of the night going through the bank records. Brenda has been ghosting the company payroll, writing checks to shell companies that were just her private gambling accounts. She's blown through nearly $400,000 in the last 5 years alone. Saturday, the legal war room. First thing Saturday morning, I called the number Robert had tucked into the back of the folder. It was for a man named Arthur, a high-stakes estate attorney who sounded like he chewed on glass for breakfast. When I told him who I was, there was a long silence on the other end. Then he said, "I've been waiting for this call. Robert told me you were a good man. Bring the folder to my office in an hour. We're going to initiate the Burned Earth Protocol." Yes, he actually called it that. Arthur explained that Robert had officially filed the real will with him months ago. The one Brenda found and burned in the house safe? It was a decoy. A fake Robert planted specifically to see if Brenda was vulturous enough to destroy it. She fell for it hook, line, and sinker. The moment Brenda attempts to file for probate using intestacy, claiming there is no will, she's committing a felony, Arthur explained, leaning back in his leather chair. And since I have the recorded video of her entering Robert's home office the night after he died and removing documents, well, let's just say she's in a world of hurt. Sarah sat there, silent, just absorbing the fact that her mother was a criminal. It's a lot to take in. Sunday, the final warning. All through Sunday, the flying monkeys reached a fever pitch. Tiffany sent a final invoice for the venue deposit, $22,000, with a note that said, "Pay up or don't show up to the rehearsal. Mom says you're dead to us anyway." Honestly, Sarah, why are you so jealous of my happiness? Brenda followed up an hour later with a voice note. "Sarah, I'm at the jeweler's right now looking at a necklace I want to wear for the mother of the bride dance. I'm putting it on your tab. Don't be a bitch. You owe me for raising you. You owe me for raising you." The woman who didn't show up to her daughter's graduation because of a fashion emergency. Sarah looked at me, her eyes hardening. The sadness was being replaced by a cold, sharp anger. It was the first time I saw Robert's fire in her eyes. "Invite them over," Sarah said. Her voice didn't shake. "Tell them we have the money. Tell them we're having a celebration dinner on Monday night to toast to Tiffany's wedding." I asked her if she was sure. She just nodded. "I want to see their faces when they find out they're homeless," she said. Monday, the confrontation. It is currently 6 p.m. on Monday. They are arriving in 30 minutes. We have a catering spread out on the dining table. It looks like a celebration, But hidden under the napkins at each of their place settings isn't a gift, it's a legal packet. For Brenda, an eviction notice for the house, which Sarah now owns through the trust, a demand for repayment of the embezzled business funds, and a copy of the DNA test results for Tiffany. For Tiffany, a copy of the will showing her $0 inheritance, and a letter stating that the BMW she's currently driving is technically company property, and we're reporting it stolen if it isn't returned by midnight. I can hear a car pulling into the driveway. It's the BMW. I can hear Tiffany laughing. They think they're coming here to collect a check. They think they've won. They have no idea that Arthur is currently on standby to file the police report for the destroyed documents. My heart is thudding against my ribs like a trapped bird. Sarah is standing by the door wearing her favorite dress, the one Robert bought her for her 25th birthday. She looks like a queen heading into battle. Wish us luck. The next time I update, the family, as we know it, will be over. Time passed since last update. 3 weeks. I am sitting in my new home office. It's quiet. For the first time in my life, the air doesn't feel heavy with Brenda's manipulation or Tiffany's screeching, but the silence is expensive. It cost us a family, a wedding, and several $1,000s in legal fees. The night of the celebration dinner it was a bloodbath. Brenda and Tiffany waltzed into our house like they owned the place. Brenda was wearing a new fur wrap she definitely couldn't afford, and Tiffany was already scrolling through her phone, showing Sarah pictures of $8,000 wedding cakes. "I hope the champagne is chilled, Sarah," Tiffany said, tossing her keys onto our mahogany side table. "I've had a stressful day picking out bridesmaid dresses. You're lucky I'm letting you be the maid of honor after how difficult you've been." Sarah didn't even flinch. She just pointed to the dining table. "Sit down, Tiffany. Mom, we have a lot to discuss before we get to the festivities." We sat. The tension was so thick I felt like I was choking on it. Brenda reached for her napkin, her eyes gleaming with greed. "So, where's the check, OP? The venue needs the deposit by midnight or we lose the date." Sarah leaned forward, her hands folded perfectly on the table. "There is no check, Mom." Brenda's face went from smug to purple in 3 seconds. "What did you say? You brought us here to lie to us? After everything I've done for you?" "Open the packets," Sarah said. Her voice was ice, cold, hard ice. I watched them. It was like watching a slow-motion car crash. Brenda ripped hers open first. When she saw the DNA results and the PI report on her gambling debts, the color drained from her face so fast I thought she'd faint. This is a lie!" Brenda screamed, slamming her hand on the table. "Robert was a paranoid old man. He made this up to hurt me." "He didn't make up the DNA, Brenda," I said, leaning back. "Tiffany isn't his. And he knew. He knew for 10 years while you gaslit him and stole from his company to fund your poker habit." Tiffany was staring at her own papers, her mouth hanging open. "What do you mean the BMW is company property? What do you mean I get nothing? Sarah, tell him this is a joke. I'm the golden child. Dad loved me more than you." Sarah finally snapped. She stood up, her chair screeching against the floor. "He loved the idea of a daughter, Tiffany, but he knew exactly who you were. You're a parasite. You and Mom have spent your lives treating me like a backup plan, a bank, and a punching bag. Well, the bank is closed. And the house? The house you're living in? It's in the trust. My trust. You have 72 hours to vacate the premises before I have the sheriff remove you for trespassing." Brenda launched herself across the table. She actually tried to claw at Sarah's face. I grabbed her wrists and held her back while she screamed every profanity in the book. "You ungrateful bitch! I should have left you at the hospital. I gave you everything. You're stealing from your own mother." That was when the doorbell rang. It was Arthur, our attorney, and 2 uniformed police officers. "Mrs. Brenda?" the officer asked. "We have a warrant to search your residence for documents belonging to the estate of Robert. We also have a report regarding the intentional destruction of a legal will." Brenda collapsed. She literally fell to her knees, wailing about how Sarah was destroying the family. Tiffany was just sitting there, crying because she realized her $60,000 wedding had just turned into a potential jail sentence for her mother. The last 3 weeks have been a whirlwind of legal fire. The eviction. Brenda and Tiffany tried to refuse to leave the house. I had to hire private security to stand on the lawn while the movers threw their designer clothes into trash bags. They're currently living in a 2-bedroom apartment that Brad's parents are paying for. Though rumor has it, Brad is reconsidering the engagement now that the heiress he thought he was marrying is actually broke. The business. Sarah has officially taken over as chair of the board. She's discovery auditing everything. We found out Brenda had been hiring ghost employees, mostly her old gambling buddies, to siphon off six-figure salaries. The criminal charges. The DA is looking into the embezzlement. Because Brenda crossed state lines to gamble with company funds, it might go federal. Arthur is pushing for the maximum. Sarah is struggling. She's NC, no contact with both of them, but the flying monkeys are still at it. Her aunts and cousins are calling her a monster for making her mother homeless. They don't care about the theft. They don't care about the years of abuse Sarah suffered. They just see the money and want a piece of it. But Sarah is different now. Last night, she looked at the photo of Robert on her desk and whispered, "I'm taking care of it, Dad. Just like you asked. We're not done. There's one more piece to this puzzle." Robert left a safety deposit box key that we haven't used yet. It's labeled, "For the final move." Time passed since last update. 6 months. I'm sitting on the porch of the vacation property in Maine. The air smells like salt, pine needles, and, for the first time in my adult life, peace. Sarah is inside, finally sleeping through the night without waking up from a nightmare where her mother is screaming at her. We did it. It's over. The final move has been made, and the board has been cleared. 6 months ago, I told you about the safety deposit box key labeled, "For the final move." We went to the bank the day after the eviction was finalized. My hands were shaking as the clerk turned the double keys. The drawer slid open with a heavy metallic thud. Inside, there was a stack of sealed blue envelopes. Each one had a name on it. Aunt Martha, Uncle Steve, Cousin Jessica, all the flying monkeys who had been harassing Sarah, calling her a cold-hearted monster for not funding Tiffany's wedding or keeping Brenda out of jail. There was also a digital recorder and a final letter to Sarah. The letter read, "Sarah, my brave girl, if you are opening this, it means the wolves have circled. They think they can guilt you because they are family, but family doesn't steal, and family doesn't stay silent while a child is being broken. These envelopes contain the receipts of every loan I gave them over 20 years, loans they never intended to repay. It also contains proof of what they knew about Brenda's behavior. Use them. Be the storm, Sarah. I've already cleared the path. We didn't even wait." Sarah opened the laptop right there in the bank lobby. She scanned every single document. Promissory notes, hush money emails where Aunt Martha asked Robert for $10,000 to keep Brenda's little secret about the gambling, and even texts from Uncle Steve laughing about how Sarah was too stupid to realize she was being sidelined. Sarah didn't cry this time. She just smiled. It was a terrifying, beautiful smile. She didn't send them individually. She created a massive Google Drive folder, titled it "The Cost of Your Silence," and dropped the link into the family group chat. She added one single message. "To everyone who has called, texted, or posted about how I am destroying the family, here is the price of your loyalty to Brenda. You weren't defending her. You were defending your own bank accounts. Every loan my father gave you is now officially due to the estate. My lawyers will be sending formal demand letters by Friday. If you want to keep talking, you can talk to them. Otherwise, never say my name again. Reddit." The silence was instantaneous. It was like a deafening roar of deleted notifications. Within 10 minutes, 3 aunts had blocked us, and Uncle Steve actually deactivated his entire Facebook account. They knew they were caught. They knew their golden child narrative was dead. The final fate of Brenda and Tiffany. As for the queens of the drama, Brenda didn't go to prison, but honestly, what happened is almost worse for a narcissist like her. She took a plea deal for felony embezzlement. She received 5 years of strictly monitored probation and a court-ordered restitution of $250,000. Because Sarah owns the house and the business, Brenda has nothing. She's currently living in a cramped 1-bedroom apartment in a less-than-ideal part of town. She has to work a retail job at a discount clothing store just to make her monthly restitution payments. The woman who used to scoff at Sarah's cheap Honda now takes the bus to work. Tiffany? Tiffany's dream wedding didn't just get canceled, it became a local legend. When Brad found out that Tiffany wasn't actually a multi-million-dollar heiress and that her father wasn't her father, he vanished. He didn't even break up with her in person. He sent a text that said, Sorry, Tiff. This is too much drama for me. My parents said I can't be associated with legal issues. Good luck with the bus. Tiffany tried to sue Sarah for emotional distress and stolen inheritance. Arthur, our lawyer, literally laughed in the courtroom. The judge dismissed it within 10 minutes and ordered Tiffany to pay Sarah's legal fees. Since she has no money, Sarah is currently garnishing Tiffany's wages from the makeup counter where she works. Sarah doesn't even want the money. She's donating every cent of Tiffany's garnished wages to a charity for children of narcissistic abuse. The irony is delicious. Where we are now, Sarah is the CEO of Robert's firm now. She didn't sell it. She revamped it. She fired every crony Brenda had hired and replaced them with the people Robert actually respected. The company is thriving. Last month, we went back to the house, the big, hollow mansion Sarah grew up in. We didn't move in. Sarah stood in the living room where Brenda used to scream at her, and she looked at the spot where the safe used to be. "I don't want this place, OP," she said. "It's full of ghosts. I want to build something new." We sold the house to a developer who turned it into a community center. Sarah used the proceeds to start a scholarship in Robert's name for girls who want to go into engineering and construction, the black sheep who were told they couldn't do it. I'm looking at her now. She's sitting on the dock looking out at the water. She looks lighter. The weight of 20 years of being the problem child has finally lifted. She's not a bad daughter. She was just a lion raised by hyenas. My father-in-law was right. She's the only one in that house who had a soul. And now, she finally has the world, too. I think I'm going to close this account now. The story started with a throwaway, but the life we've built because of it is something I want to keep forever. Thank you for listening when we felt like we were drowning. It kept us sane. Goodbye, Reddit. And Brenda, if you're reading this on your lunch break at the discount store, Sarah says hi.